Now may I call upon Sampada Namjoshi, Director KPMG, and Ratnakumari Gorthi, Associate Partner of KPMG. Sampada is qualified management professional and close to 2 decades of experience in testing in BFSI sector, as well as Ratnakumar is highly qualified senior management professional with approximately 28 years of experience.
Before we start on core topic on ESG, like how as a part of a quality engineering community, we can effectively contribute positively on ESG. I hope you all know that E stands for environment, S stands for social, and G stands for governance. We would like to present to some of the quality objective why team here or the overall world have formed the ESG and quality development goals. Some of the important facts that we all love Maldives as a country, right? But if you know that Maldives is currently facing low elevation challenge, they're just above 1.5 meter above sea level. If the climate change problem is not tackled, we slowly see that the country itself is being disappeared. Second important parameter is around South Sudan. They are fighting with the high poverty rate. Their 98.4% population earns less than $5.5 per day, and 0.3% population earns greater than $10 per day, which means most of the South Sudan people may not even afford the ticket today to attend this STEP-in summit, which is very scary. Third important parameter around good governance. Good governance is measured on scale of 100%. South Korea tops the chart, however, with the score only as a 67%. With all these parameters which are worrying around ESG and a good governance, member states of United Nations have come together in 2015 and formed some of the ESG and sustainable development goals. I'll request Ratna to walk us through from them.
Good afternoon, everyone. So as you can see on this screen, there are totally 17 global sustainable development goals. And all the countries, they actually track the progress against the ESG goals against these 17 parameters. And more organizations are also now focusing on ESG, and they're also submitting the ESG reports. And even the shareholders, they're showing a lot of interest to invest in the organizations which are ESG focused, even though their profits might not be that high, versus the organizations whose profits are very high but are not ESG focused. So what it means, it's a high time for all of us to also be part of this particular journey and contribute towards this ESG through the way we do our testing activities. So the next question is, can we show a lot of impact against all these 17 parameters? The answer is no. However, we can still contribute in our own way to most of these parameters, and I'll explain you how we can actually do that. The reason being every drop counts. So when each of us can actually contribute towards ESG, we can make a huge impact. So now let's look at what are the environmental impacts due to the testing activities. Right, so the main thing that we can focus on is to reduce the carbon footprint by the way we actually refine the processes, and also by responsible consumption of your storage, your data, your energy, etc., without compromising on the quality. So what are those various activities that we can do? First one is the optimum usage of infrastructure and test environments. You can correlate some of these topics to the topics that are already discussed in today's sessions. So they're also applicable. So we can do it through our test environment management, wherein we can efficiently estimate the environment requirements. And also you can create a portal wherein the team actually can book the environments, you can manage the contentions, you can actually manage the outages. Also, you can do the automation of your daily health checkups so that, the environment outage is less. And you can also do the batch execution, automate that particular part. So the main intention here is to kind of streamline the entire environment-related activities and ensure we minimize the wastage and maximize the usage of the environments, and also ensure that by less outages, we can ensure that the team is effectively utilized. Next is the test data management. There was also some conversation around it. You say you're creating the synthetic test data. Of course, yes. There are two ways that you can do it. One thing is you can actually use a traditional way of masking the data and doing all that stuff, or you can use the tools that are available in the market for synthetic data generation. And the intention is, again, it's protecting the data privacy. So that is one of the key parameters of ESG, right? And then next is a tooling approach and standardization. So it's not always required to reinvent the wheel. So most of the organizations, they procure a lot of tools. And often you can see that all the features of the tools or the license are not optimally utilized. So before you actually procure any new tools in the market, first thing you need to do is figure out, whether all the features of the existing tools are leveraged. Then you actually explore all the open source tools or the licensed tools. If the features of any of those tools are not meeting your requirements, then you can actually even go and create your own in-house tools, right? Once you finalize the tools, make sure you standardize the tools across the organizations and also maintain that consistency. Again, the main intention here is minimizing the wastage. Anything and everything that you do, make sure you keep this in mind. You have to minimize the wastage and maximize the usage of the tools, solutions, etc. The last one under this category is the cloud computing and IAC, infrastructure as a code. You can automate the configuration and testing in order for the deployment of the applications onto the servers. Again, by moving to the cloud technologies, you're actually reducing the carbon footprint, which is essential as part of your ESG. And also, you can increase that scalability part. The next category is early identification of defects through shift left. Again, there was a debate on shift left versus shift right, but we are now going to focus on shift left. The reason being, the earlier we actually identify the less number of resources you're going to use. As a result, again, your carbon footprint will also be reduced. First, you can do it through virtualization. It could be your server virtualization, service virtualization, device virtualization, or the data virtualization. Again, the intention is to minimize the usage of the devices so that you can reduce the carbon emission, and as well as you do not have to reduce the dependency on other applications, devices, etc. Next is capturing the non-functional requirements, including the sustainable requirements up in the life cycle, so that you can capture all those defects early. Last, again, there was a debate on discussion on this risk-based testing. In my view, there is no single solution that actually fits the RBT, risk-based testing approach. There are multiple ways. There's a big topic altogether. But in my view, you have to use a risk-based testing approach in all the engagements, irrespective of whether you have the budget constraints or the time constraints. Again, that context-based risk-based testing is also helpful to do the right amount of testing. Next one is a focus on maximizing the reusability. This you can do through innovation and continuous improvements. You can actually follow the design thinking concepts as well as lean concepts in order to come up with the innovative ideas. And coming to the automation strategies, you need to have a strategy wherein you have to see how you can minimize the scripting effort and also the maintenance effort. There are some conversations that happened earlier covering all those aspects. Next one is minimizing the redundancy. You can use a tool available in the market, or you can create your own in-house tool to identify the reusable components across thousands of test cases and ensure that you automate those reusable components first and call them in the other automation scripts so that you can minimize your scripting effort and maximize the reusability. Next, last one under this category is improve efficiency in test scripts development and execution. Again, you can create the tools available, you can use the tools available in the market or create your own tools in order to avoid redundant test cases in the system. Your tool can look at the requirements and automatically pick the test cases from your repository, and then you can actually eliminate redundancy in creating the new test cases. Next one is usage of scriptless and low-code automation platforms or tools. So here, again, my preference is to look at something which has the auto-discovery feature as well as auto self-healing kind of a feature. So that will save huge amount of your maintenance effort. And last but not the least is the buzzword in the market right now, the generative AI for test design and test execution. So leverage as much as you possibly can. And here, my strong recommendation is don't try to focus too much on what those ChatGPT or any of the Gen AI tools can't do. Rather, you should focus on what are the possibilities and leverage best out of it. So I will hand it over to Sampada to move on to the next one.
Thanks, Ratna. We all believe, and I too believe that as part of the QE community member, we should create a social impact on the society. There are multiple ways with which the social impact can be made at the organization level or having initiatives done while you are part of the QE community. One of the way would be testing services for the diverse group. Who are these diverse group people and what kind of testing they do need? There is one first question or first type of testing is accessibility testing. Accessibility testing enables differently able people to be more productive, use every software and application in the best way possible. Power principle can be and needs to be followed as defined under WCGA 2.1 guidelines so that we can have a more inclusion for the differently able people and they can work and they can increase their quality of their life. Second will be the fairness testing. As Ratna mentioned, we have AI ML is currently used in the market extensively. With usage of AI ML, concern around fairness of each application are increasing because AI ML is a program tool, right? They don't understand or they are yet not reached to the level that they can add a human touch in their developed softwares, right? So with that, fairness concern are being increased. Now, to address this fairness concern, we as a part of a QE community, we can do multiple testings. We can be at the start of the requirement stage itself, give more requirements around fairness so that application become fair for the entire group here, not to the dedicated to the minimal population who may be using the application. Third would be the UI, UX, and multi-browser testing. I don't have to elaborate on this much, because we all know that that is our main type of testing which we do. How can we give key ESG benefit when we do this extensively? First thing that the people will stop buying multiple devices because the application does not work on one device, I need to buy another. With this, we are reducing cost of the devices. Also, we are reducing electronic wastage in the environment. This is the key ESG benefit we can give. Security testing and the test data management also are the important parameters. We can make the applications and the environment secure. Next is one of the principle from the development goal is a quality education. We all are doing that as part of the CSR activity. We also have to do that inside our team members. We need to train them, make them future ready so that our workforce is ready to handle any challenges coming on their way. How you can do that? There is fourfold method. We can use it by doing the market research, understand which kind of training these people would be needed. Second is doing the skill gap analysis within your team. Third is taking the cue from the industry or from the current project to understand what kind of future skill your team member may be needed of. And fourth will be taking insight from the summit like step-in. We all attend the summits to understand more on futureness, readiness of the market. Also, we can include the ESG specific trainings in our workforce area. Now, ID, inclusion, diversity and equity, also the important parameter and every organization should follow this to create more inclusion in the society so that we can socially create a good impact. We can do that doing the diversity in hiring. And we also are having multiple projects across the globe and geography. Having more projects done, we can have a more diverse thinking in the projects and have the social impact created. This is my favorite, woman empowerment. Sorry to say this, but we have seen the example, right? When we cut the cake on the dais, I was the only one standing. We should change that picture. How we can do that? I don't need clap on this, I need support on this. I am not going to explain this much on this, but we have seen the reality today, and every organization taking a step KPMG does it, hence I'm standing here today. I believe every others also are doing it. We need more support. Why we are not capable? We are capable. But create that equity, women empowerment is very important. And third would be the CSR relationship. That is, we can do lot of things while we are doing the CSR activities. Be active part of it. At KPMG, we run the Aspire program where we mentor all the girl child who was 8th standard onwards. I'm part of that program also. And we make sure that we create social impact by having multiple CSR activities done accordingly. Now, next topic would be governance. Ratna would help in detail.
Yeah. So when it comes to governance, the parameters could be different at a country level versus a company level versus what Kiwi team can do, right? At a country level, they actually look at how stable the government is, the ease of doing business, your corruption level, the infrastructure, and also the financial stability. Whereas at a company level, they actually look at the risk governance and management, your business continuity, and your business sustainability governance, and also your financial stability, etc. Right? And when it comes to QE, what can we do? We can actually revise our test management process so that we can ensure we do a proactive delivery risk management. And we can also look at a few of the other stuff, which I'm going to show it on the slide, in order to create that governance impact and contribute to the success of the organizations that we are supporting. So the first one is a proactive delivery risk management. I know there are certain tools which are available, and even the OpenText also showed a wonderful tool. But here, what we can do is, the first one is a proactive delivery risk, predictability model. This is, you can create your own tool or use any of the tools in the market. Whenever I say tool, it can be in-house or already available in the market. So you can use the predictability model tool in order to identify what is the potential completion date of the testing activities given the current issues that are there in the project. And based on the gap between your potential completion date and your original plan date, you can inform the stakeholders upfront, or you can negotiate on the timelines or the scope or the staffing requirements, etc. And alternately, you can also be creative enough, be innovative in order to identify different solutions or in order to minimize the gap. And that is at a engagement project level. Then the second one is a project risk dashboards. Again, usage of the tools, or create some dashboards which the leadership team can actually look at to get the early indications of what are the kinds of risks at an overall portfolio or the practice level. Next is a sustainable SDLC, wherein you consider all the ESG parameters throughout the software development life cycle and ensure that whatever we have discussed so far, all of them are being taken care across the SDLC. Next is the control access for work done remotely. This is, the GDCs that most of us have in order to protect the data privacy rules, etc. The next category is metrics, SLAs, KPI management. I think, again, there was some tool which was shown how many metrics it can capture. But before you actually finalize any of the metrics with your clients, ask yourself, how much effort is required to track this metric? Or is there any value that we are adding by tracking and reporting that particular metric? Is there any single source of truth to get that information and kind of measure that metric? And can the metric as a standalone thing, can it give me real insights into what are the progress, the health of this project? Right? Think about all these things before even you jump into it. But once you finalize it, make sure you have a clear definition for all the prerequisites as well as the exception criteria. Okay? And my strong recommendation is not to have more than 10 SLAs or KPIs in any of the engagement. Anything more than that is a killer, and it's not actually required. Next, the test practice strategies. There are two things. One, when you come up with test practice strategies at a practice level or a portfolio level, keep in mind that apart from based on your pipeline or the ongoing engagements, you might have some strategies, but also keep in mind the market trends. And your strategy should also include it. The ideal percentage would be 70% of your strategies you can align with based on whatever business that you're already doing and how to expand in the existing business. And then the 20% of your strategies you can align with respect to where you want to actually grow in the newer areas. And 10% of your strategy should always be on how you can actually prepare yourself and your team for the future. And then as part of your master test strategy documents, and even the reporting, make sure that you are considering all the ESG parameters. Next one is the test consulting. Most of the organizations, you have your own set of questionnaire that you use for your maturity assessment. But my recommendation is make sure you include questions related to ESG and also the latest trends that are happening in the market. So when you start adding all these questions, then only your maturity assessment is going to be comprehensive enough. And then the defect management, I'm not planning to touch on that. Last one is the ESG report testing. Two things that you can do. One thing is, when ESG is becoming mandatory for most of the organizations, the accuracy of the data and the comprehensiveness of these reports is absolutely required. So we can actually help the clients in automating all these ESG calculations as well as testing their ESG reports. And so with that, I'll quickly summarize what is the kind of impact that we can have on this ESG. These are all the 7 different parameters which are under environmental. We can actually do that by reducing the carbon footprint, minimizing the storage space and energy consumption by doing the optimal ways of testing, minimizing wastage and redundancy in whatever we do, fostering innovation so that we can actually build better teams and increase resilience, and then minimizing the effort for better work-life balance. And there are 7 more points under the social. We can actually do it through the CSR activities, most of them. Little bit. We might not be able to have a major impact, but somewhat impact on some of these the goals. And then provide relevant trainings to the team ID initiatives and providing QE services that supports the diverse groups. And last but not the least, the governance aspect. You can actually, there are two goals which I tag, and we can actually do that by partnering with the clients on their ESG journey, right? And because everybody is looking at not just their ESG compliance within the organization, they're also equally interested in what are my vendors doing. If the vendors are also equally compliant with respect to ESG, that adds a lot of value. That is a partnership for the goals that we are talking about. So we can actually contribute towards that. And then the robust governance process for streamlining the work and saving the cost. So I will close this one with a very serious note. All of you present in this room, if you strongly believe that from a QE side, you all can contribute towards the ESG goals, and you are very committed to make it happen, you can actually stand and go for lunch.
Hello, can you? Okay, good. Thank you, Sampada and Ratnakumar. I'll request Vinay to be please on stage.